Good day, and thank you for joining us. I'm Trish Lewis, the Program Director of Faces of Women in Prison. We are an organization developed for and by women and girls impacted by incarceration. We strive to end poverty and incarceration amongst women and girls by providing a range of life-sustaining resources and a platform to tell their story. It is our mission by the end of the program that each participant will walk away with a deeper sense of self and all the tools necessary to be their best selves in their personal and professional lives. So we're honored that you joined us today in celebration of our 2021 Inspire Change cohort. This is a unique group of women who have been victims of state-sanctioned violence and or incarceration. They have been through tremendous challenges and are inspired to make changes for the next generation. For the past 6 months, our ladies participated in a deep dive into mental and behavioral health, emotional intelligence, confidence building, digital literacy, financial literacy, wealth building, and public speaking. This program is possible by all of you, our supporters, our sponsors, our partners, Foundation Chanel, Arnold Ventures, Third Point, Ford Foundation, Arnold Ventures Fund, Art of Justice Fund, Veterans of Virtue, and the National Football League. Thank you to you all. Today, you will be hearing from each of the women in our graduate class. These women are beautiful and resilient, and it is my honor to have taken this journey with them. They have been through tremendous feats and continue to show their tenacity each day, and that makes me so excited about their future. We are also excited about the growth of this program and expansion to reach and do more. If you or someone you know can benefit from a program like this, log on to theloan.org and apply. Now, all the women you'll hear after me are powerful and amazing in their own right, and I am excited for you to hear from them all. Now, please keep in mind, we are live, so please bear with us as we go through any technical difficulties that we might experience, but I promise you, we will get through this together. A special thank you to Topeka, Starling, Kate, Tanya, Amber, Whitney, Kenya, Chris, and the whole Loam staff. So without further ado, let's get into it. I hope you enjoy.
Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you. Thank you for this new day, this new season, and this fresh anointing. We want to thank you for gathering everyone here today. We want to thank you for a time such as this. We want to thank you once again for all the grace, the mercy, and the love that you show us each and every day, oh God. We want to thank you, oh God, for carrying us to this point, for carrying us to this very moment, oh God. We want to thank you, oh Lord, for showing up once again in our lives, and not just showing up, but showing out. We want to thank you, oh God, for every person, oh God, who put this together today, oh God. We want to thank you for every graduate. We want to thank you for every person behind the scenes. We want to thank you for the director. We want to thank you for the founder, oh God. We want to thank you for this program, oh God, a program that's for uplifting our people, oh God, uplifting your people, Father God, taking them to new levels, oh God, allowing them, oh God, to find themselves in ways that they've never seen before. We want to thank you, oh God, for allowing them to manifest dead places in their lives, oh God, through this program. So we thank you today, oh God. We thank you, oh God. We love you, oh God. And we just ask you, oh God, to come upon us today. Every speaker, oh God, every graduate, oh God, everyone who has anything to do with this here today. We just want to thank you, oh God. And we want to just say how much we love you. And we just wanted you to go before us and prepare our way today, oh God. Make every crooked place straight and every rough place smooth, oh Lord. And we thank you because we know when we submit our plans to you, oh God, we know, oh God, what you will do, oh God. You will manifest them and you will bring them to life. So we thank you once again. We love you. We praise you. And I seal these prayers in your name. Amen.
Blessings, everyone. I am Topeka K. Sam, the founder and executive director of the Ladies of Hope Ministries. Our vision is epic: to end poverty and incarceration of women and girls globally. Thank you so much for joining us today for the graduation of a very unique Faces of Women in Prison cohort, made up of the women who have survived police violence. The idea of the Faces of Women in Prison Speakers Bureau came to me when I was incarcerated. So often, those of us who are impacted by the criminal legal system and police violence are asked to discuss traumatic experiences in our lives without regard to the trauma that arises as a result. I wanted to create a speakers bureau and sisterhood that is conducive to our unique need for healing, one that empowers women with the tools they need to become paid public speakers. Today, the world has illuminated the ongoing racial disparity in policing. And today, the rate of arrest for Black women is 2.8 times the arrest rate of white women. Police violence is rampant against Black women and other women of color. The stories of our sisters, Tatiana Jefferson, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, and Jacqueline Craig come to mind as glaring examples of excessive force, over policing, and lack of protocol that resulted in violent and often fatal interactions between unarmed Black women and the police. The stories of these women and others are terrifying and far too common. But sadly, they are simply the few that have received media attention. The majority of the stories of Black women's negative interactions with those charged to protect them are overlooked. You can change that. There's no such thing as the voiceless, only the unheard. You are turning your experiences with police violence into power. Your stories will influence the need for changing narratives and reforming public policy in a way that policing happens in America so you may raise the next generation up without fearing law enforcement. I want to applaud you for your resilience and bravery. I'm incredibly proud of all of you, and I so look forward to seeing how your advocacy changes perspectives on police brutality and community safety. I'd like to give a huge thank you to Trish Lewis for her exemplary work over the last several years as the Faces of Women in Prison program manager, and to the NFL Foundation and Inspire Change, whose generous support made this cohort possible. Congratulations.
Hello, everyone. I'm a mother, a grandmother, and an advocate. But most importantly, I am a survivor from many systems. And I could tell you the struggle is real. ACS became involved in my life because of anonymous reporting. I still remember the first knock on the door by CPS investigators with the police demanding me to let them in my home. I was confused and scared to have a bunch of cops in my home, terrifying me and my children. They came in with their badges and guns on their waistline, not telling me what was going on and what my rights were was traumatizing. CPS wanted to speak to my children, which at the time they were very young. They wanted to strip search and check them for marks and bruises as if they were criminals. I taught my children to never let anyone touch or expose their bodies. But now CPS is in my home, demanding me to see my children and to talk to them alone. The possibility of having my children removed from my care was devastating. So you can imagine the confusion on my children's faces. I was separate from my ex-husband for some time now, and we did have some issues, but we no longer were together. That didn't stop CPS for continuing the investigation on false accusation of neglect. I became angry and I told them that my children are afraid to speak to strangers, and having a bunch of cops in my home doesn't make the situation any better. I will come in the room with them and I will lift up their shirt myself. I have two daughters and a son. They agreed. They checked my refrigerator, took a tour around my home, but couldn't find nothing to suggest neglect or abuse. Their only strategy was to force me to leave my home on the basis of DV. And if I refused, they would remove my children from me. That was the hardest thing for me to do. Nevertheless, they insisted that I must leave with my children and be placed in a DV shelter, and I had to give up everything: job, childcare, school. just because of what they believe is best for me and my children. When you don't know what are your rights, the system will eat you alive. I share my story because women like us must have a voice to speak up for what is right. We must educate ourselves about how this system works and have a seat at the table to change the injustice of system that terrorize families and communities of color. Even though the child welfare system still has the power to remove children from their parents in a blink of an eye, it's just as similar as the criminal justice system has the same power to remove your loved ones and place them into jail or prison with traumatizing displays of historical trauma which disproportionately targets black and indigenous families in poor communities. I have learned the parallels between both systems the hard way, and they both work as modern slavery. These systems are rooted in white supremacy, racism, but together we can make a difference by advocating for systematic change and making known that we do matter. We are all in this together, and we must continue to fight for humanity, equality, and justice. I'm happy to say Ladies of Hope Ministry was life changing for me. It has helped me to build up my self esteem and confidence while viewing the world through our eyes. I know, and we all know, this is not a one size fits all system. Ladies of Hope Ministry has been a blessing and has helped me to understand the root causes of our people's trauma, pain, and struggles. I believe a holistic approach is a better way to gain stability while supporting our children to become the best version of themselves. It is crucial to our long term legacy. I also believe it's important to know your rights. This work has empowered me to stand up for what I believe as a person of color, to find the power inside of me to fight for what is right. We must create other alternatives that connects grassroots community organizations with the power and resources for political actions in order to transform or abolish system of oppression and racial biases that judges our lifestyle and uses surveillancing and policing as a technique to control communities of color. We know our communities are still suffering from the pandemic, economical disparity, and lack of resources. It's not enough to just survive. We must all thrive. That is the best way towards moving forward to independence and gaining real power without system involvement. Today, my children are grown, and I have two grandkids, which I love dearly. They mean the world to me. There's a verse in the Bible that says our people suffer because of lack of knowledge. And with that being said, we should not allow for any system to trample over our basic human rights and self-worth. We matter. Our voices matter and our family matter. My name is Nancy Fortunato. Thank you again.
Good day, everyone. I can remember when I was 7 years old and my sisters and brothers would play on our swings in the backyard with our friends. I can remember many summers playing kick the can, and in the winters, we played football in the snow. What I don't remember is ever having a doll. As a young girl, I never played with a doll. It was a little different for me as a young child. I do remember our friends would come over every day and night. It was people all in our home. My parents would have company in the guest room most of the time, and all around the house with a little jazz playing and R&B in the background with the smell of smoke and 151 Bacardi. It was as if it was Christmas every day. Sometimes they would bring instruments like horns or saxophones and a big bass. We would dance all around, and I would be sipping glasses of 151, and they thought it was funny. Unfortunately, all the things I witnessed, I duplicated. By the time I was 10 years old, I was educated on the street drug market. I was taught by one of my cousins, and I went right along with him. It was not long after that he was locked up and went to prison. By the time I was 14, my mother recognized my absence from school and home, and she had rules, and she put down the rules. If I was not going to follow her rules, I had to leave. So I ran away. Not too much longer after that, I was told that I had to go to a 600 school. You got to know about 600 school if you're from the old school. At that time, I recognized that I had to follow someone's rules. After 600 school, life got hard for me. I found myself in the system from Rikers Island to Bedford Hills to Albion to Taconic Correctional Facility. It was a mess. Those were the worst days of my life. Being called names like savage, enduring abuse, being shackled like an animal. That was horrible. However, all those experiences made me the woman I am today. After Taconic Correctional Facility, I made a promise to myself that I would never come back in shackles. I made it to myself that I would like to work in Taconic. So I started working in pre-release, where I assisted women coming home with child care, and they may have court appointments or foster care. I believed that life had something better for me. Taconic Correctional Release Program lost its funding. At that point in my life, I realized that we need help. That together, we are a giant. I volunteered. I started volunteering with CAKE, the National Action Network, Bedford Hills Correctional Facility, where I met some wonderful people. Just to name a few, Sister Teresa and Sister Mary. Working with these ladies was just amazing. Our children at Bedford Hills, where I worked with numerous of women. Some had life and some didn't. Some were civilians. So my passion for women's rights became my mission to be the voice of those still locked up, that I can speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, to be that role model for other ladies in transition. I became an activist, an advocate, a college graduate, a mentor, an educator, a business owner, a CEO of a nonprofit organization, an award winner of the Black Wall Street. I received an Oscar for the Best Cover magazine for one of my creative designs. I became a part of Ladies of Hope Ministry, where I'm so honored and I'm so proud. And I'm even getting a little emotional because I never really had a platform like this to tell my story. So thank you, Topeka. Trish, you are so powerful. Thank you so much to all the people who helped us. I don't even remember the names, but each thing that I learned, I took something with me. And I really just want to shout out Third Point because you guys really helped a lot. Kayla, you are awesome. Trish, thank you. Ladies, we are powerful. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Selena Madison. Nice, cool summer evening, helping my son with kindergarten homework. This night changed my life forever and myself and for my son. Can I call you Selena? If you tell me what happened, you can go back to your son. While I'm sitting in the front seat of the undercover car with the black tent that I noticed earlier sitting outside of the house. I paid the vehicle no mind as I peered out the window earlier that evening. I respond to the detective, "No, I don't understand what you want from me without an attorney present. Watching Law and Order will do that to you. Do not give any information out without an attorney present." The cold hard chains rubbing against my wrist as I sit in booking, waiting to get processed in jail, trying to hold back the tears, thinking I can bond out as soon as I find out what my bond is. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Bond out so I can get back to my son. Like I can't miss any of his first year in school. The judge asks, "Miss Nichols, can you afford bond?" "Yes, Your Honor." The DA stated some lingo that I did not understand. They got some information that as soon as I was bonded out, I was leaving the state with my aunt. I have this confused look on my face because my aunt and I don't get along in order for her to help me with anything, let alone helping me move out of state to avoid court. My aunt is a law abiding, good church going woman. The DA and the public defender that everyone in custody had that morning were going back and forth about the bond. $100,000 will be the bond for Miss Nichols. Oh my God, how am I supposed to get out with my son with that bond? It was so outrageous. Excuse me. Can I ask why you here? You don't look like the type that would be in jail. Everyone has some sort of nickname in jail. I wanted a nickname so they can stop calling me Nichols. Nichols. Like I have a first name. Use it. The little crew of girls that hung out every day said, the whiz, that's what we'll call you. Nichols, get ready. You have court this morning. I roll out of the top bunk with that itchy dove blanket, rushing to wash my face and my breath, get my hot breath for court, excited that my bond hearing is here. My attorney and the DA going back and forth again. Here we go. It was some more mess. My attorney whispers in my ear, "Will you be able to bond?" I tell him as long as it gets reduced. "Miss Nichols, we're going to reduce your bond to $25,000. I start to cry and I thank the judge over and over again for this opportunity. Family in the audience whispering, they will get me out. I shuffle back to my cell and I wait and I wait and I wait. Happy Thanksgiving, Wiz. Merry Christmas, Wiz. Happy New Year, Wiz. All the big holidays pass and the tears flow as each day passes me by, and I'm waiting to see my baby again. Count the days down to the final court date to come so I can get sentenced and move on. In the holding tank, someone says, all you can do is think the worst and hope for the best. Nichols, get ready. You're being called next. No family present this time. I start to shake my head in disbelief at all the broken promises. Get in trouble and you'll find out who your true friends are. My attorney says, are you ready? I just nod yes. My stomach in knots. I know the judge has the final say. Miss Nichols, you come before me on this case, the judge states, some jargon that I don't understand, but I just say, yes, Your Honor, just to keep the process going. I'm going to give you 2 years probation with extra conditions of classes and doing this and doing that. I cannot wait to get out of there. After 6.5 months away from my baby, I want to scream out loud and say, hell yes, but I remain humble for this grateful opportunity. Being incarcerated has been a very traumatic experience, not only for me, but for my son. Not being able to go to school events, parent-teacher conferences, Little League football games, the list goes on, but we don't have that kind of time. My son graduated from one of the best high schools in Colorado. I pray every day to remain focused and continue to work full time. At times, it gets hard, and I get tired of working every day. But then I think back where I used to be, and I thank God I work every day. Being able to pay my bills without worrying that someone is watching me, asking me how am I paying for this or how am I paying for that. Now, the only thing I give people to watch is me walking ahead in life, achieving what I set out to do. Ladies of Hope Ministry has helped me in so many ways these past 6 months or so during this pandemic, learning new things about computers that I thought I was a whiz at, and meeting new women that were in the same boat I was in, with no judgment, everyone encouraging, staying positive during this pandemic. I was able to listen and be heard at the same time. That's rare when you've been a woman who has experienced the legal system. I'm truly grateful for this program and pray that thousands of other women will be able to experience what I was able to gain from Loam and will continue to learn from these ladies. In order for this program to continue succeeding and helping other women such as myself, monetary contributions will be greatly appreciated. Loam is so needed that upon release, women can have a safe space to go to, and if needed, will help with basic computer skills, resume writing, and etc. Your contributions to the program would not be in vain. I'm Selena Madison.
Good morning. I was 13 years old when I first decided that parents in prison do not mix. My cousin, Lori, ended up with a possession charge for first offense, taking her away from her children for 4 years. I couldn't understand why on earth they would want to take a 4-year-old away from her mother. It's not like she was a bad person. She was a drug addict. She needed treatment, not prison. Lori ended up going back for another 7, followed by 9 more. Never once was treatment even offered as an option. When my son was 3, I first learned that I would soon become a parent in prison myself. When I got the letter in the mail that the charges against me were being brought up, I was in shock. It had been months since my arrest. I hadn't even thought about it at all. I was going through an active CPS case at the time, so I had already gone through the devastation of having my son taken away from me. I was told to go to court the following week, and when I reported, I was sitting across from a man who looked as uncomfortable as I felt. He said, "The state wants you to do time." I laughed out loud. I've never even been to jail. Aren't there steps to this? He just shook his head. The state wants you to do time. I held out hope until the day of sentencing. I had 6 months of clean UAs and swab tests, drug classes, parenting classes. I had a part-time job. I was a student at ASU's W.P. Carey School of Business. I was getting straight A's in all of my classes. I thought I had rehabilitated myself, and if I could show the judge this, that maybe she'd be a little bit more lenient in my sentencing. She wasn't. I was coerced into signing my plea agreement of 2.5 years. They said if I took it to trial, I would be facing 10 to 15 for my first charge, identity theft, if you would even call it that. I was arrested with a stolen ID in my purse. Being on probation at the time made it a serious crime, I guess. Nevertheless, that day I became a part of a statistic that I knew of, but I never wanted to be a part of. I was now a parent in prison. Unfortunately, my story is not unique. Right now, over 60% of women who are incarcerated have a child under the age of 18. And like most of them, my mother was able to take my son and be his primary caregiver. I was lucky. When I got out, I was able to go live with my mom and son. I had support, and things seemed to flow. However, my reality soon changed once I moved out of my mom's. I spiraled into a deep depression, and I knew that what I needed the most was for my son to be living with me full time. But getting there was not easy. A judge had ordered me to show 6 months of stability, same job, stable living environment. It took me 6 years to show that 6 months of proof. It was tough, but I never gave up. There were so many obstacles along the way, all of them due to being recently released. I got discouraged a lot, but not once did I give up. The summer of 2017, I was reinstated my full parental rights. My son moved in with me right after his 10th birthday to the house that we still live in today. I've been working for the same company for over 3 years now, and I got promoted to be a property manager. I never thought that I could ever be a professional anything, but here I am. Now I am ready to help other women accomplish the same. I have always known that my purpose in life has been to help others, but I have struggled finding the place where I can truly make a difference. Through the Loam, I have found that place. The Ladies of Hope Ministries have opened the doorways for many of us with a story to tell, but nowhere to tell it. It is imperative we continue working to change the narrative and rewrite the story of incarceration and reentry. We must abolish the stigma surrounding current and formerly incarcerated people, as well as those who have been directly impacted by the prison system. I stand here today as an advocate for change. The system is broken and we cannot rely on those in charge to fix it. The only way to get it done is through supporters like you, along with women such as us in this cohort and this program. Change is possible if we stand together. I'm especially thankful for Ms. Topeka K. Sam and Trish Lewis for serving as beacons of light, helping to illuminate a path for us all to be able to make a difference in a too often overlooked system. Thank you for coming today. We are thankful for your continued support of the Ladies of Hope Ministries. Watch as they change the world, one cohort at a time.
Good morning, everyone. I first realized that my story could help people when I was asked to speak to a group of teenagers at a summer camp one year. The person who invited me assured me that the students needed to hear my story. I'd never publicly talked about my story before, and I was reluctant, but I agreed, and I'll never forget what happened next. I spoke for 2 hours to 75 teenagers. I told them about the weekend that my father was arrested. I told them about the frenzy that my household was in and feeling like the only one who didn't know what was happening. I told them about how I felt being scared, being angry, everyone talking about my father. No matter how much trouble he was in, he was still my dad. But no one cared what a child thought. I told the students that my father ended up with a 15-year sentence. And I shared with them that even though I was only a sixth grader, my hair started falling out because of the stress. It was embarrassing that the neighbors and the kids at school knew my situation. But I also shared my accomplishments with the students too. I told them that I graduated high school and went to college and that I had a good job. That audience of teenagers surprised me. They sat silently for 2 hours and they had so many questions at the end. I saw them nod their head and a few were crying. I'd made a connection with them because of our shared experience. I understood their pain because they were children of the incarcerated. That's what this camp was for. Each of those 75 students had one or both parents who were away serving time. Although I was in my 50s, I made a connection with them because of our shared life experience. Incarceration has affected 2 generations of my family. My dad, 6 of my uncles, and my 1 aunt all served time in jail or prison. It added up to 75 years behind bars altogether. And honestly, the majority of their crimes related to the poverty that my family experienced. I've been poor all of my life. I fully understand the economic, physical, and mental health consequences of incarceration. That's probably why I was so good at my day job. At the time that I spoke to those campers, I was working full time inside of a maximum security jail. My job was to get the male inmates job ready and life ready. And I loved my job. I worked there for 10 years. I would share with them the barriers that my dad had experienced so they knew that I cared about them and I was committed to helping them. I would recruit employers who would actually come into the correctional facility and interview my students. The lucky ones had jobs waiting for them once they were released. I worked very long hours and I almost always brought work home. I engaged with them because once again, I shared a life experience with them. And after speaking to those campers and thinking about my day job, I realized what the impact was the result of. And it was because I understood and I cared. Despite the constant threat of losing my job due to funding, I brought passion, empathy, and determination into that building every day for 10 years. This thing was personal for me. When the pandemic hit, civilians like myself were sent away from the building. And it was during this transition in my career that I heard about the Ladies of Hope ministry. This program has been such a blessing. It's given me the tools, the business skills, the public speaking skills, and most importantly, the confidence for me to keep trying to get a seat at the table and not be sent away. I want to engage the reentry world on a professional level. People with lived experiences, we should be involved with policymaking and designing programs, and we should be compensated for the knowledge that we bring. My goal for the future is to be a consultant for reentry programs or programs that serve children of the incarcerated. As an impacted family member, I have important insight to contribute to the conversation. With the addition of our voices, perhaps we can begin to provide more justice and peace for all families. I know that I helped those 75 teenagers at that camp. My name is Elisa Smedley. Hashtag Hear My Voice.
Hi, my name is Claire Graff, and I work in social responsibility at the NFL. I am so honored to be here celebrating you today. Part of my job here at the NFL focuses on our Inspire Change social justice initiatives. We built this initiative over the course of the last 4 years, and for many of us who work in this space with incredible organizations like Ladies of Hope Ministries, it is the most meaningful part of our jobs. We are honored to share time and space with you all. Between the headlines every day and just the general state of the world, it can be really hard to stay hopeful. It's easy to feel like nothing is changing, or that things are changing too slowly, or that it's too hard to keep pushing for change. I'm guessing you feel that way too sometimes. And I'm here to tell you all today that you are the ones that give us hope. Hearing your stories and being able to support you in some small way, that's often what gets us out of bed in the morning and keeps us going. We know not everything's perfect and that some days are really, really hard. But I also want you to know that while our funding may help Ladies of Hope Ministries, it's really you all that help us too and keep us inspired. We may never meet in person, or we may walk down the streets here in New York and pass each other and never realize it. But your strength, your perseverance, and your resilience leaves a mark on us every day and reminds us to have hope. So thank you, and I'll leave you with a few words from Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Thank you on behalf of all of us here at the NFL, and please don't stop.
Good morning. My name is Erica Clinton. I am a mother, daughter, friend, and advocate for those without a voice. My passion is driven by my experience. In 2017, I gave birth to a son that was removed from my care by ACS due to testing positive for an illegal substance, but that's not the worst. I had 2 other children that went to Atlanta with their father for the summer, and because of my previous interaction with ACS, I was told by the caseworker that came to see me in the hospital to bring them back to New York City. If I didn't, I would more than likely lose my parental rights. Do you know how traumatic it was for my children coming home from a vacation only to be removed from their home? I can't begin to explain the trauma for them and myself. They were then put into a total stranger's home. No one explained to them what was going on for a week. So when I finally got to visit them, they were angry and lashed out towards me. The worker took trust and reassured them that I was doing everything I could to do to get them home. I complied with everything ACS asked of me, and it still took a year and a half to get my children back. I did all the services they asked of me and then some. I was a court-appointed advocate, but never really felt like she was really advocating for me. How can someone advocate for you if they're being contracted by the same agency that has custody of your children? After a year, I finally found an advocate to advocate for me. She taught me that I think before I react, where in the beginning I was just reacting. That is what ACS is counsel. My reacting with anger and my getting it through. We cannot talk about the child welfare system without talking about mass incarceration. And you cannot talk about mass incarceration without the child welfare system. In my opinion, the same. In both instances, the parent loses custody of their children. The parent is only allowed 2 visits per week with their children. And like with mass incarceration, the child welfare system targeted mostly Black and brown families and low-income. Like Joyce McMillan says, sometimes cops are called caseworkers and work for ACS. A solution to this is to provide more support services to help families avoid family being torn apart. Let's have more preventive service in place and less family police, aka yes. This past year had its ups and downs, mostly ups. Started a new job, working as a parent, coach, and advocate for an organization that supports parents with mental disabilities that are impacted by ACS and or domestic violence. I completed the Faces of Women in Prison program, to which I am grateful for all the things that I've learned and the wonderful queens I have met. I am presently dedicating my life to serving my community. In closing, I implore you to all shift the narrative surrounding our communities. Unity is key. Thank you for listening. My name is Eric Brewington.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I always wonder how my life would be if I stayed in Florida. If my mom never picked me up from school that day and told me that I'll be moving to New York with my dad, and not just moving, I'd be leaving tomorrow. My dad was a man that I had no relationship with. The last time I saw him had to be about 4 or more years ago. But I'm going to live with him tomorrow? Okay, this should be interesting. Life in New York was different from life in Jamaica and way different from life in Florida. It was faster. The people spoke different. They acted different. But somehow I felt at home, like this was where I belonged. I loved the big city life. The year is 2011. I'm fresh out of high school and I'm started to see people. I started to see people my age with money, and a lot of it, they're wearing things that I knew I would have to work overtime for 10 years to afford. But I wanted these things. I was young and impressionable. So I made it my mission to find out what everyone was doing. I later found out it was credit card fraud. Always a fast learner, I got in with the right crowd, or the wrong crowd, you could say. And I started getting my hands on some of that fast money too. Making thousands of dollars at the young age of 19 can take you down a path that you never dreamed of going. I saw a jail cell one too many times for my liking, 5 times to be exact. Looking at me, would you have guessed that? I doubt it. Recidivism is a real thing, and I'm proof of that. The data shows that 33.4% of people are rearrested citywide for a new crime within a year. About 13.2% are rearrested for a felony, and 4.7% are rearrested for a violent felony. I'll never forget my first time, though, that moment of self-reflection, trying to figure out, how did I end up here? I never pictured my life this way, but oddly enough, knowing it wasn't going to be the last time, because I wasn't going to stop doing what I did that landed me here. The last time I saw a jail cell was 2018. I went down to Mississippi because, as we all know, people up north always think people down south are slow and they're not hip to what's going on. However, I didn't take into account that I would be racially profiled for being African American, and spending a large amount of money would look suspicious. So I ended up in jail. I was in Mississippi fighting for my life. I was held without bail for 11 months because I was deemed a flight risk due to not being from that state. During this time, I had my full circle moment and realized that this is actually not the life I want. I realized that I'm above these things that I keep subjecting myself to. I'm a beautiful girl and a very smart one in that. You can't go in the store scamming thousands of dollars at a time without being smart. So why am I in jail surrounded by so many people in their last leg of life? In that jail cell, I came up with a plan. I decided to do life differently. If I ever got a second chance, I decided I wanted to help women that were coming home and wouldn't have the same opportunities as me. I knew that going home, I had family, friends, support, education, skills, and I met so many women that didn't have those things. So many of them were unable to spell basic words. And here I was, spelling bee champ for elementary, middle, and high school. A lot of the things I took for granted, these women simply did not have. When I came home, I was now a felon. And being a felon and a Black woman, you can imagine how hard it was to get a job. I had the education, the skills, the experience, the resume. I looked really good on paper, but I could not land a job. I still had that label of being a felon. That made me think about all the women I met while incarcerated that had none of these things, and I began to wonder, how can I help them? So I started Ground Up, which is a reentry organization for post offenders. Currently, I'm still seeking funding and partnerships, but my end goal for Ground Up is to provide resources for post offenders, such as interview prep, resume building, partnerships with jobs that hire people with criminal records so that I'm able to set them up with job interviews and assist in finding housing. Because formerly incarcerated Black women have the highest rate of homelessness, nearly 4 times the rate of white men, and twice as high the rate of Black men. Since being home, I've done podcast interviews with orgs such as Women Health Inc., where I discussed reentry and some of the issues women face when they come home and also while incarcerated. I even made an Instagram for Ground Up, where I talk about everything criminal justice related. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Ground Up. I'm also involved in programs such as this one with the Ladies of Hope Ministries to learn more about the criminal justice system and to meet people whose goals align with the ones I now currently have. Also, to meet more women who may offer me resources and know the right direction to point me in. Last but definitely not least, just last week I got a job offer from WCGA, the Women's Community Justice Association, for a salaried position, making more money than I thought I would be able to make as an African woman with a felony. I know I didn't go through the things I did and make the wrong turns I made for no reason. If I can spend the rest of my days helping post offenders, then my life will be fulfilled. Prior to this, I always felt like everyone had a thing they were good at. And then there was just me. I always knew I wanted to help people and that I enjoyed that, but I never knew in what capacity until I went through my ordeal. Thank you so much for attending today and all that you have done for the Ladies of Hope Ministries.
Good day, people. Angela Davis, American political activist and scholar, once said, "Prisons do not disappear social problems. They disappear human beings. Homelessness, unemployment, drug addiction, mental illness, and illiteracy are only a few of the problems that disappear from public view when the human beings contending with them are relegated to cages." I remember sitting on the cold, rock solid concrete in a cage setting after being transported while shackled from the Tarrant County Jail to the maximum security unit in Huntsville, Texas, to be processed in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice System at 8.5 months pregnant. My reality of this dark and debilitating space made me feel like what only impounded cage dogs endured. At that moment of despair, I desperately wanted to be put down. However, I had my unborn baby to consider. In 1995, myself and my two children, ages 17 months and 8 years old, had gone to a medical appointment. I had asked the front desk staff for a copy of my medical file regarding only the portion of records pertaining to a back injury I had sustained in an automobile accident. One of the staff who had known me over the years readily agreed to get the copies for me. However, a new office manager told her an emphatic no. I began to try to reason with the lady, continually asking for the medical records. She then warned me, if you say that again, I'm going to call the police. I wondered what I'd said and repeated again to her what I knew I'd only said was, ma'am, may I please get a copy of my medical records pertaining to the spinal injury that I'd been treated for? She then picked up the telephone and called the 911 dispatch, racially profiling me and lying by stating that I have a Black female here who is cussing. I placed my children in the vehicle in the front of the door of the medical facility and waited for the officer to arrive. When the officer arrived, I stood up, addressed him by his name on his badge, and explained that I was trying to retrieve a medical record. I asked the officer if he would ask the lady if she would please get the doctor to give the okay. The officer asked the lady if she would get the doctor for his approval for the record, and she answered no. The officer then turned to me and suggested that I leave since the office manager, as he stated, would not cooperate. Taking heed to his suggestion, I turned to exit the facility. As I do so, I mutter under my breath that the woman is an unreasonable expletive. As I stepped 1 foot out the door, the officer commanded, "Come here." I leaned out the door further to check on my two children in the vehicle. Right at the facility door, I turned to acknowledge the officer on the second command, "Come here." He then grabbed me, body slammed me to the wall, lifted me off my feet with his forearm lunged in my chest and across my throat. I break loose and run toward the doctor's office door, pleading for help. The police officer had not mentioned that I was under arrest. I was attacked and beaten in the head with steel handcuffs as my 8-year-old daughter and 17-month-old son witnessed their mother being beaten by a police officer. The trauma of police brutality has been ongoing for decades for me and my children's lives. Not privy to this monstrous evil of mass incarceration and its underpinnings, I took a plea deal because I was advised by the public defender that if I didn't plead guilty to the charge of assault on a public servant, I could face 10 years imprisonment if found guilty. My children and I served 6 years and 9 months of an 8-year deferred adjudicated probation sentence, only to have it revoked for slow and non-payment of fees. I was just shy of only 9 semester credit hours of completing my Master of Public Affairs degree from the University of Texas at Dallas when the probation was revoked. I went to jail and prison for non-payment of $1,700. I gave birth to my son in the criminal legal system, shackled to the birthing bed. While incarcerated, I adamantly decided to not commit the TDCJ correctional ID number to memory and was written up for that infraction on several instances. I decided to maintain my conviction of truth and stand firm of my purpose to remain in my identity and dignity. I chose not to surrender to a failed system of injustices and not allow this system to disregard my identity as a human being by committing to memory a systemic number. I chose to remain purposed and focused so as to come out of this hell stronger. I'd get back to my children and my life to complete the goals that I'd set for myself for a better quality of life for my family. Well, re-entry is no easy journey after incarceration. So here I am, 24 years later. God has brought everything full circle. I am earning my executive master's degree in public administration with a concentration in public policy. in the Nelson Mandela College of Government and Social Sciences at Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In my advocacy efforts toward impacting the injustices of the criminal legal system, I have purchased 80 acres of land in Texas, whereby, instead of another prison being built there, my goal is to develop 33 firm of purpose houses of prayer for single mothers and their children, as to not endure homelessness in the reentry process after incarceration, as my children and I had endured. The Loam's Faces of Women in Prison Be Inspired program has only added invaluable resources to my advocacy efforts for criminal legal reform. Thank you to Pika K. Sam for conceptualizing such an epic program. Thank you, Trish Lewis, for all your excellent professional direction and love. Thank you, Starling Thomas, for encouraging your mother to finally bring all this trauma to the surface so as to work through it for my emotional well-being. Thank you to the NFL Inspire Initiative for helping us move toward a more equal and just tomorrow. All of this work truly matters. Your supportive actions have been phenomenal. I am Nitchka Starling Granger, unshackled and free. Thank you and have a blessed day.
I am W13302. I am W67404. It was 1966, and the Oogum Boogum song by Bretton Wood and Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie played on repeat on the radio. If you're not familiar with those songs I just mentioned, well, let me just say you missed one heck of a party. I can remember the music playing and the drive to the prison, seeing the cows and the horses. I can remember my brothers in the car and my mom and her friend Phyllis. I can remember it was always early morning, but to this day, no matter how hard I've tried, I have no vision or no memory of pulling up to the prison, of going through processing, of running into my father's arms in the prison visiting room. By the middle of the first grade, I was taken to live with my aunt and uncle and missed the separation from my brothers, but I have absolutely no memory of ever missing my incarcerated father when I was little. Once my father was home, he wanted custody of me. But by this time, my aunt and uncle were home to me, and my mother did not want to remove me from their care. By my early teens, I began to use drugs and became addicted to the same drug that my father spent all his incarceration behind, heroin. At 18, I stood before a judge in North Court in Fullerton, California. As I was standing there, the district attorney and the judge began to discuss my father's arrest history. I remember I was standing there and I said, "No, wait, I wasn't even raised by my father. I'm not my father." But was I? Even to this day, I can remember. And it brings back a pain that nobody listened. At 18, I was sent to state prison, and over the next 20 years of my life, continued to cycle in and out of jail and prison behind my drug addiction. I have many experiences and memories of each and every arrest. Each and every time I wished I could have just been a better person, a better mother. If I could only stop using drugs, if I could only get my life together. For years, I struggled to get my life together, and each time I would relapse, feeling more and more like a failure every time. My last arrest was on April 5th, 2001. While facing a life sentence for drugs under the California Three Strikes law, I was able to be released on a $25,000 bail after spending 10 months in the county jail. My father is the one that posted that bail for me. After almost a year of court, I turned myself in on September 30th, 2002, with 18 months sobriety, a relationship with God, and a community of people that loved, supported, and believed in me. I paroled on February 7th, 2009, and returned my CDC number, my California Department of Corrections number, a year after my release. Today, I have 20 years sobriety, and today, you could go on ahead and call me Dolores. Today, I'm a director as part of a national organization, the Bail Project, bailing out almost 20,000 people across the country that cannot afford to purchase their freedom. I am co-founder of California Families to Abolish Solitary Confinement. And today you can call me Commissioner Canales, as I was appointed to be a commissioner and serve on the Probation Oversight Committee by Los Angeles Board of Supervisors, Janice Hahn. Today, I am an expert of my own experience, and what I bring to the table, no amount of studies will offer in a textbook. I have used all the stumbling blocks from my own life to build stepping stones of achievements so that I could reach a hand to those that are still climbing. But one of my proudest accomplishments is that today I am a mother, and I am one of the best nanas my grandbabies can ask for. I am present in their lives, and I treasure every moment. For years, I was angry and bitter and felt alone. So now today, in my advocacy, I choose joy and to walk in love and build a community and build alongside a community of resilience and strength. Time again, each time I was released, I was expected to just figure it all out. The tools of life that the Ladies of Hope Ministries offers are the stepping stones that we need to succeed in life, to climb to higher achievements. I consider myself to never be fully taught and to always be willing to learn. I am so thankful to have shared in this program alongside other remarkable women and the leaders that lead by example and that are all here together. I want to give a special thank you to Topeka Sam for holding fast to her vision for women, and to Trish Lewis, our mentor, our leader, our teacher, who led with such patience and encouragement. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I am looking forward to the journey ahead and new opportunities as they arise.
Hello, this is Commissioner Khadijah Abdul-Rahman of the Mighty Six, the caring commissioner, the compassionate commissioner, but oh well, the fighting commissioner. And today, the Faces of Women, I want to congratulate you on a journey well ended and well deserved. We know that incarceration wrecks our society in two different ways. One, usually it takes the primary caregiver out of the home. And two, more than often, women who are already victims of sexual abuse, victims of domestic violence or substance abuse are the ones that often fall in the trap and end up being incarcerated. And so we know the incarceration rates of women have doubled over the last 20 years. And unfortunately, this affects a large portion of our society, as in that women are the primary caregivers. We know that anytime that we incarcerate the primary caregivers of our society, the entire society suffers. However, today is the test that leads to your testimony. We know that you went through different areas of improvement. We know you've mastered life skills, and now it's time for you to go out there and make your mark. But I want you to stop for one moment and think about the village that you are a part of here. At any point in time when you feel as though you may need to reach out to them, please do. They're part of your journey. We thank them, we thank your family, and we thank those that helped you on this journey to get to this great day. We know that part of the program here will allow you to become part of the Speakers Bureau, and I encourage you to do that. Keep in mind that your story will help someone else. And this is a part of your journey. In fact, it's your duty to make sure that you use what you've learned, or more importantly, what you've overcome, to help the other less fortunate. There's somebody right now today that needs to hear your story. There's somebody right now today that needs to hear your words. They need to hear about your scars, but more importantly, they need to hear about your triumphant journey to the other side. As you go on today, understand that this organization could not be possible without you doing your part to make sure that you let others know the pitfalls of incarceration and how it affects the primary caregivers, how it affects the mothers, the daughters, the sisters, the wives in society. I ask that you, when you graduate today, that you take a look back and reflect and understand this may have had to happen. This may had to be a journey that you had to walk, but the good thing about it, it is not the end of the journey. The beginning of the journey may have been very rocky, but the end of the journey is still being written. You are the master of your journey. You are the one to make sure that this ship stays on track. And I know you will do it. Take this moment to congratulate yourself. You did it. Many times that you thought you couldn't, many times that you wanted to give up, many times that you could not see the end of the tunnel, you persevered. And for one, I am so very proud of you. Give yourself an opportunity to know that you are loved. And the journey that you will carry on today, the gifts that you will take with you, will make us a better place, not only for you, but for me, but for society as a whole. I appreciate everything that you and your family did for you to get to this point. But remember, today is not the end of the journey. It's just a new beginning to better and greater sights and distances and mountains that sometimes you will have to climb. But I have faith that you will do it. Congratulations. Take care, and know you are a winner today. Congratulations.
Good afternoon. My name is Kimberly Haven, and I am a proud prior graduate. To my sisters that are graduating today, congratulations. I hope your journey was as amazing as ours was. To our sponsors, supporters, friends, and family that are here today, thank you for being a part of this journey. I was asked to speak a word of encouragement, and I thought long and hard about it, and it is simply this: truth. Know your truth, speak your truth, own your truth, and then use your truth and change the world. Welcome to the sorority of prior graduates. We stand ready to support you, to collaborate with you, to empower you, to listen to you, and to strengthen you. All you have to do is reach out. To our supporters, our sponsors, our friends and family, I have a call to action and a challenge for you. And it is simply this: This program has nurtured and empowered an amazing cohorts of incredible and impactful voices. My challenge to you is to reach out to one of them, make a connection, empower, open a door, share a seat, support this program so that more voices can be nurtured and empowered. To my sisters again who are graduating, be a part of the call to action. As you've been empowered, you are now called upon to empower someone else. At the end of the day, we are all in this together. My sisters, I welcome you on behalf of all the cohorts that have come before. Welcome to the sorority. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this graduation. Thank you, and again, congratulations.